Hello everybody and welcome to the first ever Jumputi Heroes Grand Alliance Festival between World Trigger and My Hero Academia. Now this event is something that we've known was coming for quite some time. They talked about wanting to bring series together that had some sort of similarities about them, and try and infuse people in both worlds and perhaps introduce people to a series that they're not as familiar with through a series that they are more familiar with. And on paper, very cool idea, and I am on board. As for the event itself, that still remains to be seen, I think, but we've got part one of this event here, two-part event, and it's a month-long event. It goes from the 31st of September until the 28th of June. So this event carries us right up until the 3.5 anniversary. Now, the last week of this event, part two of this event, I suppose I should say, there's probably not going to be a lot going on. And I have a feeling that's because we're going to have the 3.5 anniversary countdown. We're probably going to get a live stream during that time. We're probably going to get teasers during that time. And in that live stream, we're going to be expecting like not just news on 3.5 anniversary, but perhaps a new roadmap, perhaps some more information on updates that they said they were working on and we still haven't heard anything about. They were like constantly giving us updates and stuff each month, and then they just stopped and were like, yeah, we're only going to tell you on stream now. So you just have to wait for a new stream. But we've got a stream coming up, so hopefully they do stay true to their word and do that. And there's a lot of updates that we're still waiting on very long time. One of those being the Sprite rework, which is like a huge update they still haven't done, and perhaps we could see some signs of what might be happening with that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But let's focus on the actual event here to get started. A collaboration between My Hero Academia and World Trigger, focusing on two somewhat smaller arcs, but you know, it's fine. It's a good way to introduce people possibly to World Trigger, maybe warm them up to World Trigger if they're not familiar with it. Bear in mind, it's no longer technically in Shonen Jump. It started in Shonen Jump, but now it's moved over to one of the sister magazines, so the release schedule's a bit different, and people who are only reading Jump and only know about My Hero Academia, they might not know about World Trigger. So potentially an introduction for them. These are two series that I have read, and I do quite enjoy both of them. And I've got to say, out of the two series so far, I feel like the selections, while completely jumbled, probably are slightly stronger for My Hero Academia, at least in this part one. Just because I think a lot of people have been waiting on Darby. There he is. A new version of Aizawa. I mean, the one we had is so old. It came out right at launch, you know. And the fact that he's actually going to be like Gacha, and he's going to have a kit worth mentioning, perhaps. Well, we'll talk about that for sure. But yeah, possibly, I don't know. So, some odd choices. This whole event is just odd choices to me, but it's still pretty cool. I've got to say, it's still pretty cool, especially seeing all these characters from the different series being represented. But also they're trying to make it seem like they're converging and crossing over a bit. It's pretty cool. We'll get into it and we'll hit each point as we go down one by one. So start off with the login bonus. You get 500 rubies and you get the affiliation selection papers. Now this, you can see it says the campaign period ends on the 28th, which would suggest that we're only getting one login bonus and then that's it for the event. However, I would say that is most likely because this item here, they still want it to be available during part two of the event. So if you are late to the event and you come during part two, in theory, there may be a part two login bonus giving us additional goodies, but this part one will still be there. So even if you're late to the party, you'll still be getting goodies. 500 rubies is really not a lot for a 1 month event, so you would expect that there would be more. I'm hoping that there will be more, especially because part two is a longer event than part one. But still pretty cool. This item in particular, the affiliation selection papers, it can be used to select between two emblems. Emblems is a new update, which we will mention. It's going to be one of the last things we talk about in the post, because it's not super pertinent information, but it is a new update, and you can get your choice between the Provisional Heroes license and the Tamakoma branch border emblem. These emblems, the way it was worded made it sound like you could get both, so maybe you can get both if you include part 2, I don't know. But for now, you can go in and you can choose one, and you can choose whether you're on the side of border or whether you're on the side of the heroes. I don't know which one I'm going to pick. Probably border, because the thing is, they've actually already used this icon before, the hero one. It was for like a summoning item in one of the early My Hero Academia events. So the border one's more interesting to me, because World Trigger hasn't had that much content, you know. Yeah, they've had a little bit, but they haven't had as much as they probably should have. And now they're not even really getting their own feature festival, they're getting into this like dual festival thing. So I appreciate that some of the elements of this event are more World Trigger focused. You know, a lot of the backgrounds are of places within the World Trigger world rather than My Hero Academia. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. We have a special missions event. We have these all the time now. And you earn this item, Proof of Growth, by clearing the missions. The missions are very straightforward this time. There's only 11 missions. And you get 1,000 rubies for collecting all of them, and you also get a talented elite emblem. A lot of the stuff in this event is focused around Jin, which is quite cool. Obviously Jin is not really his own standalone unit in this event. He is a dual unit with Midoriya, but a lot of focus on Jin, and that's okay. The missions, like I said, very straightforward. Clear one of the, I believe that's like the daily stage, or I mean we'll show that later. One time, get the first Transcendent up to max luck, get Darby only up to level 99, get the second Transcendent up to max luck, obtain 1,500 of the farmables, and then get the Legend Summon up to level 10. I'm guessing this is not a proper Legend Summon stage like the one, I mean, I say proper. There's like two kinds, and there's one that's like really easy, and there's one that's really hard, but you don't know which one it's going to be unless they straight up tell you most of the time. So I don't know yet, but I think it's going to be one of the easier ones, because I doubt they would have told us to get it to level 10 if it was one of the ones where you have to be a Catastrophe class stage. So these are the only missions you have to do. Bear in mind, in part 1 you have to do these missions in part 1, then in part 2 potentially there are more missions. This ends on the 11th. So you get your 1,000 rubies, so 1,500 rubies so far in part 1. Not bad. Assuming it continues in part 2, very cool. And yeah, you can see the 100 rubies for each of those, and then the talented elite emblem for clearing all 11. This is a prologue event. A lot of these quotes you might not recognize, they're mostly from Jin. My side effect tells me so. There's a quote from Jin. And this event is a prologue, which is more so for the Japanese players, obviously, because you may not be able to read Japanese, but it might give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on from seeing the manga panels. And the idea is you go in and you clear this event once and you get the chat stamp of Jin. Very, very cool. The plus ultra effort, as I mentioned before, is the daily event, and you can get scrolls and tickets. Notable that we do not have like a special ticket for this event. No My Hero Academia, no World Trigger, crossover, whatever. No ticket like that. I do wonder if maybe that would come in part 2, because there is a good chance that there are going to be more new heroes in part 2. So maybe they thought they'd save the ticket till then, and then during part 2 you'd have the opportunity to get both the new heroes they introduced here and the ones they'll introduce in part 2. I don't know. But yeah, notable that there is no sign of that in part 1. But it's a standard daily stage, and this is only for part 1, and you can get 1 million coins for clearing this, I assume, every day during the period. And coins is not a lot when you consider you're supposed to invest 1 million coins every day into your guild, but better than nothing. Then we've got our first Transcendent class event, our first farmable unit of the event, and that is Wenso from World Trigger. And let's take a look at her kit. Let's take a look. Obviously only a Transcendent class event, so we won't be expecting too much, but let's look nonetheless. She inflicts 303% damage to one enemy, and then inflicts 7,500 fixed damage to one enemy. Okay, I mean, typically speaking, when we see fixed damage, it's quite often AoE. This time it's not. This time it's just fixed damage. But I suppose it's okay, fixed damage. I mean, some stages do have stuff like stuff that will prevent you from doing burn damage or whatever. Like they'll have certain things put in place to stop you from cheesing the stage with damage over time. And damage over time is sort of the best way to deal with stuff like barriers, guard, damage reduction, whatever. But fixed damage does work, so could be used. I mean, I wouldn't say she's a high priority unit for that ultimate attack. The passive reduces the number of buddies sealed by buddy skill seal for this unit by 1 and boosts this unit's attack by 70%. We all know that buddy skill seal is one of the worst debuffs in the game, so she reduces it by 1 for a free unit. It's not undesirable. It's not bad. As a passive skill, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The support, charge your legend summon gauge by 19%. For 3 turns, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for green team members by 1 on an 8-turn cooldown. And I would say that's actually really good. I really like that for a Transcendent class event, because the 19% is just nice to go hand in hand with the bubble reduction, which is 3 turns by -1, which, as you'll know, is one of my favorite formats, because 1 turn reduced by 3 is only for 1 turn, and really that's only effective to get rid of bubble reduction, or bubble extension rather. But 3 turns reduced by 1 means you get the added bonus of the ability, albeit not as strong, but you get that over the course of 3 turns. I like that much more, personally. Some people may disagree, I don't know, whatever. But yes, it's going to be a pretty standard event, relatively easy event. And you got to max her luck in order to complete the mission, so get to it. Then we have our Catastrophe class event, which I dare say is going to be just a little bit harder. And I think this is the one a lot of people are excited for. Darby is like a very popular character, and they've done quite nice with the aura costume. I have to say, looks very. I don't know if does it look better on this image. I think it looks better on this image than on this image down here, because you've got a dark background. You can really see how the particles work. It is a little bit questionable making him yellow, and I mean, I think either red or blue would have been fine. Blue might have been a bit weird because blue is water type in this game. So red might have made more sense, but then I don't know. That yellow was just a weird choice. Yellow is just a weird choice to me. This might simply come down to the fact that it looks like a lot of the My Hero Academia stuff was sort of moved around, because mostly the My Hero Academia stuff, at least in part 1, would make you think that this is like from the training arc. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the arc where Deku fights Muscular and Bakugo gets kidnapped. Like, we're seeing a lot of those characters show up. We have Tokoyami in the last event, and we have specifically the Deku from this. I say in the last event, in the spooky event where it was called 17 million downloads, and we also had the Deku specifically from that fight against Muscular, the My Hero Deku. Now we're getting Darby, we're getting Mr. Compress, and you have to remember that we already had a lot of the characters like Himiko Toga from that arc already in the game, and plus we know for a fact from the teasers that Twice will be coming. who could also fit as part of that arc. And a lot of the quotes are from that arc as well. Like a lot of the skill quotes and stuff are from that arc or just before, like in the setup to that arc. So maybe they had to move stuff around specifically because they were trying to make this into a dual event. I don't know. And maybe that's why he's not different color. Or maybe they were just like, you know, yellow looks cool. Yellow on blue looks cool. And I mean, they're not wrong. So I don't know. Sprite looks awesome. Aura looks awesome. Let's talk about the kit though. Inflict 312% damage to all enemies and remove 1 attack up from all enemies. Very good for a free unit. For a free unit, very, very good. Attacking all enemies and removing 1 attack up from all of them as well. Yeah, definitely usable, 100%. And the passive, reduce bleed damage received for this unit by 2500. Hardly any units do that yet. Bleed is a very new debuff, so very good that he counters it. And boost this unit's ultimate attack damage by 18%. Unconditional ultimate attack damage boost. Very good. Very good. His support, 9-turn cooldown, converts 6 blue bubbles to red, and for 1 turn reduce the appearance rate of blue bubbles to 0. For 1 turn reduce damage received for yellow team members by 1500. Again, very solid, like very usable support. There are going to be times when you don't want blue bubbles on the board. He's going to hook you up. He is going to set you up, and he's also going to give you some damage reduction if you have a yellow team, of course. Very solid kit. One of the best in this event. And it's on a free unit, which is cool. And his aura looks cool and everything. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be limit breaking him because he's pretty awesome. He's pretty awesome. Then next up after Darby, we have the farming event. We all love the farming event. Now, I was really hoping we were going to get like a full renewal of how farming events are handled after the Otokujuku event. I kind of hope the same with Gacha. I feel like they, while the scheduling was completely messed up on the Otokujuku event, as it has been with almost every event. Even though they did try and do it differently, I just feel like it wasn't quite right, and it didn't help the fact that they just were spamming us with stamina, which if you're a veteran player, you definitely didn't need. But even some new players, it's like if you accidentally collected them all, you just had 999 stamina. You missed out on stamina. That's how much extra they gave you, you know. So I think they went kind of overboard there. I appreciate it was like a sort of summer special campaign. Like, you gotta remember, kids are gonna be home from school, summer break. Let them play the game as much as they want. Give them as much stamina as they want. I can totally appreciate that. But they went overboard. They went crazy with that stamina. And I mean, even one of the developers, or the ex-producers of the game, accidentally collected all the missions and ended up with overflowing stamina to the point they went beyond the 999. You lose that stamina. So crazy. I don't know what they were thinking, going that far overboard, but I can appreciate the gesture nonetheless. With this farming event, they've toned things way down compared to that. If you look at all the different like farmable characters and evolvers and stuff that were in the Heihachi Edajima event, none of that, all gone. Instead, it's just like standard tickets and stuff. There is one new event, which is the Doriyaki, which can be used as a skill experience item similar to scrolls, but that's it. So you're really just farming this event for like tickets and for missions. You do have to do the missions, so you get some rubies from that as well. But yeah, you have to farm the optional trigger spider, and then you get some nice little goodies. Don't forget to bring your farmable characters along. The limited unit with the mega boost. The mega boost. You're pulling for them, you're going to find this a little bit easier, but I don't think anybody's going to struggle with farming what you need for the missions. It's not going to be hard with the time we have available, with the extra stamina everybody's got sitting around in their box. No, not going to be hard at all. Yeah, I was really hoping that they do like a My Hero Academia, bring back all the... I know they did that with like the one they had recently farming the Kyokujiro stage. You get the old units. But I was kind of hoping they'd just do it again. Because because like you might have missed out on that on the countdown. Someone might come in, brand new player, and they want to get those units again. Like it would be another opportunity to get those units, and for the veteran players, more droplets. So it kind of seemed like a no-brainer to me to just bring them straight back again. But they haven't. So I don't know. And they also didn't put any of the like old My Hero Academia gacha tickets in there, which again seemed obvious. They didn't do it. I don't know why. Maybe in part 2. Maybe in part 2. I don't know. But yeah, make sure to get at least the 1500 you need for the rubies. Then we have the next Transcendent class event, which is Mr. Compress from My Hero Academia. Like we mentioned before, from the same sort of arc. I mean, you could argue that this is perhaps the remnants of what could have been Jumputi Heroes doing an event of what's currently going on in the My Hero Academia anime, which we won't get too far into details on because of spoilers, but that is an amazing arc that does focus more on the villains. So I think it's very possible that could have been planning that, and perhaps the anime scheduling sort of messed that up a little bit. I don't know, because that arc should have happened ages ago in the anime, and it's only happening now because they changed the order of everything. So there's definitely a possibility that that's the case. I don't know. And I mean, if you know what happens in that arc, you can imagine what might be coming in a future event for My Hero Academia. But for now, we have Mr. Compress, and let's talk about his kit. Inflict 20,000 fixed damage to one enemy. Again, the fixed damage to one enemy. It's a bit more this time though, and there's no standard damage here. Just 20,000 fixed damage to one enemy. And for one turn, reduce damage received for green team members by 200. I don't think that's a bad little kit for like a... If you're just getting started, I don't think that's a bad little kit, because the 20,000 fixed damage means you go into any stage that has barrier, guard, damage reduction. It doesn't matter. You're still going to be able to hit them. And attack down won't affect you because it's fixed damage, so you're still going to hit them. And you also get damage reduction that's going to make you a little bit more resistant. Take a little bit less damage. I think if you're a beginner, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. The passive, this unit is immune to bubble extension, which is nice. We always like an immunity. Bubble extension's not the hardest things to deal with. We even just got a unit in this event that will help you deal with it, but immunity is always better than reduction where possible. And when your HP is 75% or less, boost the ultimate attack damage of green team members by 5%. So he's a frontline support on passive. Yeah, I genuinely think this is a really decent unit, especially for beginners. You probably won't see much use from veteran players, obviously, but for beginners, yeah, absolutely. Support, boost the base damage of 15 skill bubbles by 24%, and for one turn reduce damage received for green team members by 1400. So sort of that like Giorno-esque support. It's one of those ones where it's like, if you can set everything up right that you have that many skill bubbles on the board and they all get that boost, then you're going to be doing mad damage. But in normal play, that won't happen often. Unless you're specifically trying to set that up every time, that won't happen often. And some stages, they won't let you do that. They just won't. There are some game modes like, say for example, Unity Battle, where they might let you do that. But in a normal like Catastrophe or Ultimate class stage, they normally won't let you keep your bubbles for that long. So damage reduction's nice. Okay. I think as a frontline, he's probably a little bit stronger. The support has high potential, but low usability. And then next up, we have a bit of a weird event. It's a stage that you can clear 3 times a day, and you get gacha tickets from it. You can get 10-step tickets, or if you're lucky, you can get a multi-ticket. And you also get chat stamps from the missions, which is all cool, I guess. But it only goes on for like 4 days. It's a really weird event, because if you can only clear it 3 times, and it's not like a challenging event or anything, just seems odd to me. I don't really understand. Unless it costs like a bunch of stamina, maybe. I don't know. This just seems kind of weird. I don't. It feels out of place compared to the rest of the event. But you can get your chat stamps if you're bothered by them. Potentially get some gacha tickets if you're bothered by them. And yeah, it's only a few days. Only 4 days. I don't really understand, but whatever. Then we have our Legend Summon event. As I mentioned, I do think this is going to be an easier Legend Summon event. It's not going to be your standard. Is it standard? Well, it's not going to be the tier of some of the legendary quests we've had in the past. Like, for example, well, even during the 70 million downloads event, the stage to get Gitsune. That would be an example of what I would call a standard legendary quest. And this is an easier one. And we don't know what this this Legend Summon does just yet. Yeah, we got a World Trigger Legend Summon, which is cool. Hopefully, maybe we can get another one in part 2. Flesh things out a little bit. I mean, World Trigger's kind of slacking in. The Legend Summon department doesn't have any. Now it's got 1. If we could get 2, I think that'd be kind of nice. Maybe that's getting a little bit greedy. I don't know. But if you wanted to do like a Unity battle or something towards the end, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, onto the gacha. We have Deku and Jin from My Hero Academia and World Trigger, respectively. And this took me by surprise. I've got to be honest. Seeing the 2 units as a combo, while it was something a lot of people had somewhat considered, I didn't think they'd make it limited. I really didn't think they'd make it limited. And I guess it's cool. I mean, limited units being dual units, having them be actually like usable, playable characters. Like it's kind of, it's all right. It's kind of cool. It just it hits me as just a little bit strange. I don't know. I feel like if you're a World Trigger fan and you don't have a limited in the game, and then you finally get one, and you have to pull from My Hero Academia character to get it. If you're not already not already a fan of My Hero Academia, that's going to be a little bit strange, especially because it's Deku as well. Like, there is sort of a through line with these characters that you can see in some of the quotes. The support quote is from Jin, and it's about everything's going to be fine. The future is moving forward. You've got to remember, Jin has a secondary ability that lets him, it's called Future Sight, lets him see a little bit into the future sort of thing. And you may remember there was a character like that in My Hero Academia called Night Eye, and that's what the passive quote is from. A future that you strive for, that is a quote from Night Eye. And seemingly what they've set up here is sort of a mentor and student type thing, like a sort of Jin has taken Deku under his wing type thing for the unit, which kind of cool. I mean, maybe I'm reading into it a bit too much, I don't know, but that's what it seems to be. You've got 2 characters, Night Eye and Jin, both had Future Sight. Kind of seems like they've done a little something there. I don't know. I don't hate this. I just feel like while Jin is kind of cool, I feel like I've seen Deku in this game so many times, and unless you're going to give me like one of the more recent versions, I don't know if I'm that bothered. I don't know if I care that much. Now, one thing that I will say, something I did mention that I would talk about later, I strongly suspect, and not everybody agrees with me, but I strongly suspect that the work on the Sprite revamp is still underway. And I think that they are going to be going through and taking all of the sprites made in the old Jumputi art style and making them into the new Jumputi art style. Now, there's definitely some arguments to be had as to why they might not do that. But bear in mind, we have had a lot of characters over the last year or so that seemingly are just updated sprites of the old characters, or an element of them is just an updated sprite of an old character. For example, the newest version of Goku, the Spirit Bomb Goku, you have a lot of the elements for a Super Saiyan 3 Goku with an updated artwork there. All you need to do is change out the body part with the ripped shirt, and then you've got an updated sprite for the original Goku, the original Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Now again, definitely could be an argument there. Well, you still have to do the animations and stuff, and you're right. But once you have everything rigged, that's going to be a lot easier. If you have all the elements and parts already done and already rigged, it's going to be much, much easier. And it could be an opportunity for them to potentially introduce awakenings, awaken these old characters and bring them into, you know, updated sprite and also possibly some new skills and stuff. It could be an opportunity to just go through and give a new lease of life to some of these old characters. I mean, it doesn't even need to be awakenings, could just be buffs or whatever. You know, some of these old limited characters, loads of new players won't have them. You give them a good buff and you give them like a new sprite, you might actually be able to put them on banners again and convince people to summon for them. But that's what I think when I look at this when I look at this image of Jin and Deku, because that is V1 Deku and that is V1 Jin. Those are just updated sprites and they've stuck them together. But down the line, they're doing sprite revamps. They already have Deku and Jin done. They just need to break them up, make them into their own units, and redo the animations. So that's just my thoughts. Again, not everybody agrees on that, but just putting that out there, especially looking at this unit in particular, and one of the other units we know is coming in part 2. I really do strongly feel that that's something that they're at least considering. Possibly something they've been working on all this time, hence why sprite revamps have taken so long. But I'm sure we'll learn more about that at a later date. Let's talk about the unit itself, themselves. Let's talk about these characters. Inflict 500% damage that ignores guard to one enemy, and for 2 turns inflict 10,000 bleed damage per turn to the target. While the target is afflicted by bleed, if you connect 1 or more green bubbles with this unit, at the end of that turn, it inflicted additional 21,500 damage. So it's a bleed unit. We've had a few of these now. It's still quite rare. It's still quite a new thing, but it's damage over time. You know, I don't dislike bleed. I mean, there's not a lot of counters to it just yet, so it's still quite strong. It's okay. It's an okay frontline. I mean, it's you know, it's a limited frontline, so obviously it's strong, but nothing special compared to the other bleed units. It's quite a lot more additional damage, I think, than some of the other ones, but it is what it is. The passive boosts this unit's attack by 16%, unconditional, very good. This unit is immune to bubble extension. As we mentioned before, bubble extension not that hard to deal with, but immunity is better than a reduction. We always appreciate that. So that's good. And during turns 1, 3, 5, and 7 of the adventure, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill wall for this unit by 3. That's interesting to me. Maybe not particularly strong, perhaps. I don't know. But on turn 1, you're only going to need 4 skill bubbles, or 4 bubbles to make a skill bubble. And on 3, and on 5, and on 7. And you know, that means maybe you can use them in slot 3 PvP if you wanted to. Bleed damage. Work in slot 3. To be honest, I don't know. They have use. Potentially, they have use. And the kit is not bad. It's very usable. If you like these characters and you want to go for them, by all means. The kit frontline doesn't sing to me, really. But it's still good. It is still good. The support: convert a random bubble to a skill bubble of 110% base damage. Excluding skill bubbles, convert the center bubble and the bubbles in all 4 corners of the board to rainbow. Charge your legend summon gauge by 25%. For 4 turns, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for this unit's body by 1. This support is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. You get a skill bubble. Admittedly, the 5 rainbow bubbles are a little bit odd because they're in set positions, but I mean, 4 corners and the center is still quite a lot of the board. I mean, if you've also got a skill bubble in there, assuming it doesn't land on one of those spots, I mean, you're setting something up already. Plus a quarter of your legend summon gauge done. And for 4 turns, whoever your buddy is going to take 1 less skill bubble. That's just lovely. It's a lovely support. Frontline, I'm not that interested, but support, very, very nice. I'm not going to be going for them. To be honest, I kind of want to save. I'm going to see what's going on in part 2. But I want to save for 3.5 Annie. Because I still have that sort of feeling that it might be Dark Heroes. And if it is Dark Heroes, we could be seeing some really cool stuff. So just want to hold on to my rubies just for now. And I still don't have a Muso character. So maybe this will be the time. I don't know. But yeah, I'm probably not going to summon here. And as for the new heroes gacha, some nice picks. I gotta be honest, some solid picks. Rei Nasu, very, very cool. And then obviously the revamp of Aizawa, again, could potentially be used for a later remake of the character, the one we already have. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I think we needed a new version of Aizawa at some point. Maybe not necessarily here, but at some point, so that's fine. That makes sense. Makes sense for him against Darby if a lot of the focus is on that particular arc, because Aizawa is who faces off against him in that particular arc. And Rei Nasu, very nice, solid pick from World Trigger. She has a few big moments we'll see recreated in her animation, so solid. Solid. Let's start off with Rei's kit, shall we? So let me get that up. Inflict 460% damage to one enemy for 3 turns, boost this unit's attack by 20%, and for 3 turns reduce damage received for this unit by 1500, 7k in tower. I'm still a little bit, I don't know, the whole thing of like, oh, they have a sort of additional bit to their kit that helps in tower, just for what, for boost week? I don't know, like, am I going to be using her going forward in tower? I don't think so. You could make an argument that she could work because she gives 3 turns attack boost plus damage reduction. It's not for me. It's really not for me, the front line. The passive, before this unit's turn, convert 1 block bubble to blue and boost it to blue and boost this unit's attack by 18%. The support's okay. No resistance, nothing to help other than changing 1 bubble to blue and unconditional attack boost. The front line, not great for me. The support, however, boost the blast radius of 5 skill bubbles by 2. Convert all red bubbles to blue. All red bubbles to blue. For 3 turns, boost the appearance rate of blue bubbles. And for 3 turns, boost the ultimate attack damage of blue team members by 8%. That is the support that would see a hell of a lot of use. A hell of a lot of use. So for the support alone, fantastic unit. Front line, I don't think I would use her that much. But support, very nice. Let's talk about Aizawa. His front line is, well, interesting. Inflict 430% damage to one enemy, and if the enemy is balanced class, inflict an additional 100% damage. Remove 1 ultimate attack damage boost from all enemies. As we've mentioned before, removing ultimate attack damage boost from all enemies when ultimate attack damage is a buff that is only present on enemies in tower, and you can only face off against 1 enemy in tower, seems silly. Perhaps they will someday release Super Tower, which they promised us and still hasn't come out. Perhaps they will release Super Tower and you will face off against multiple enemies. I don't know. But until that day, kind of pointless, I guess. I mean, you can use it in tower to remove the 1 ultimate attack damage boost from the 1 enemy. And, I mean, damage plus boosted damage to balance is pretty nice. 530% damage for a standard class unit. It's just, I don't know. The passive kind of also messes it up. Reduce the number of bubbles required to negate bind for this unit by 9. Now that alone is pretty solid. Helps you deal with bind stages. That's great. But bind is not present in tower. And ultimate attack damage is not present outside of tower. So his kit's a little bit confusing. It covers more bases, I guess you could say. Like, he has a little bit more utility because he can be used in tower, but he can also be used in PvE. But yeah, I don't know. The ultimate attack damage boost is nice. I mean, I think he's going to be doing pretty good damage. Generally speaking. His frontline kit just does not read with me at all. His support: convert a random bubble to a skill bubble, convert 5 yellow bubbles and 4 blood bubbles to red, and for 1 turn reduce damage received from red team members by 845, 500 in tower. This is the same as Lenali Lee, the new version of Lenali Lee. And it's, you know, it's a very solid support, great for PvP. A lot of people will want that for PvP. For me personally, I don't really care about PvP that much, so it's just not really a kit that interests me that much. As much as I do like Aizawa, and I'm happy we're getting a new version of him, not for me. It's not for me. And then we have the other stuff section of the news. The Defeat Darby Gacha, which don't summon on it. That's all I can say. Don't summon on it. You've only got, I mean, you've got 2 2021 units on there. And Furuhashi is very good. But I just wouldn't. Then we've got the Returning Heroes Gacha, which they've made this sort of the bad form. Man, I didn't realize how bad Jin's sprite looked. I know it's like obviously a day 1 sprite, but I mean, look at Yuma's. It looks way less wonky, right? I'm not crazy, am I? Jin's kit looks, well, his sprite looks weird. I mean, look at him up here. Different geezer. That's a different bloke. Anyway, I would not summon on these gacha. When they bring back One Piece, they give you 3 guaranteed 5 stars on the 3rd multi. When they bring back World Trigger and My Hero Academia, you get 1 on the 3rd multi. Bear in mind, on the One Piece one, you got guaranteed 5-star here, you got a guaranteed 5-star here, and then you got 3 guaranteed 5 stars here. Admittedly, you can only do that rotation once, but you got 5 guaranteed 5 stars. I know they have more 5 stars than the other series, but bro, like, some of these are still like launch units or 2018 units, and the same here. So why would I? Don't summon on this, please. I'm begging you. Don't waste your rubies on this. Either of them. I debated even putting them in the news post, but seriously, don't summon on them, please. Then we have the choice ticket pack. Again, don't waste your money. Admittedly, this is a bit better because it's like if you wanted one of these characters, sure, but like, are there any characters that are not available on normal choice tickets? No. So just use a normal choice ticket, or summon for them with normal summoning tickets. Don't spend 4,900 yen. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. And then we have the other news. So emblems, obviously emblems are out now, and you can equip them. They appear like up here, and then above your head in guild. And they don't do a lot else, and there's not really a lot else to them, and there's not really any special ones locked behind special challenges or anything. So I don't really get it. I thought they might have done a thing where it's like if you get a certain number of them, you get like rubies from missions, or you get some goodies from missions, or maybe like they'd have certain emblems that are like for insane challenges, like getting 1,000 characters max luck. I know you can't do that yet, but you know, stuff like that. But no. Doesn't look like it. I don't know if they're going to do anything interesting with this other than have it as something you can put over your head in your guild. But still cool that you can do that. Mine was not working earlier because I didn't have any of the ones that I'd earned up until now working. But I'm sure I'll figure that out later. I don't know. Anyway, we have some more stuff that has no release date or anything like that. Or if it does have a release date, it's tentative at best. We have a sales pack. This is a pretty common sales pack, 750 rubies for 1840 yen. It's not a bad sales pack, not the best I've ever seen, but it's not bad. Then we have the special movie release gacha. If you didn't know, there's a new Prince of Tennis movie coming out. And I'm going to mute that, you can't hear it anyway. There's a new Prince of Tennis movie coming out, and CG. And it also seems to be set around Danjiro Echizen, which is Ryoma's dad. Would this have been a really cool opportunity to introduce a limited version of Ryoma's dad? Absolutely. They're not. And also the other characters show up at the end of the trailer, but I have absolutely no idea what role they played in the actual movie. I mean, seemingly they played no role whatsoever. But yeah, if you don't have Tezuka, he's a very good unit. Ryoma, okay for how old he is. I personally wouldn't go in and summon on him now. I did back in the day. But again, bear in mind, this is tentative information. This is not confirmed because this is a leak. But it does look like this is the same format as some of the other gacha we've had, in which case Tezuka would be guaranteed on a 9th multi, in which case not a bad gacha. Chance to get another limited, and you can get Tezuka guaranteed. If that is the case, granted. But yeah, if you missed out on him, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. And then we have the popular Tower gacha coming back. It feels like this just went away. I think it did just go away. I don't know. This will probably be happening right at the end of this event. We have some new units coming back. A lot of 2021 stuff here. Shishio here. Tsukasa. Tsukasa here. The new Saeki. Tokoyami. Misao. These are all 2021 units. Sukuya, much older. Bit of an odd inclusion there. Still wouldn't summon on this, but arguably has more merit being summoned on than some of the other stuff. Now, personally, I don't recommend summoning on returning new heroes gacha like ever, but if you were going to, this would be a better one to summon on than some of the stuff up here. You know, like these ones I would never summon on. This one, if you like the characters, there's some 2021 characters in there, might be worth it. Can't really recommend it, but it might be worth it. I'm much more enjoy recommending summoning on gacha like this. Yugi Muto returning, a very nice unit. Pooty shot on a limited, very, very good. If you missed out on him, this is a very recent limited. Very, very cool. Very good opportunity to get him. If you like the character and such, definitely recommend giving that a look. And then, oh, I think I forgot to mention it's a free multi on the Tezuka Ryoma gacha. Free multi on that, by the way. First multi free. We also have the One Piece Volume 100 Celebration Limited gacha. This is just, in theory, just going to be a reprint of Kaido and Kazuki Oden. There might be more to this, I don't know. Like, there might be more gacha, or there might be like some kind of mini event involved, like some campaign or whatever. I don't know. But right now, this is all we can see. 2 limited gacha. Summoning on Kaido might not be a bad idea. He's not an awful unit. He's got some redeeming features. Kazuki Oden has some features. There are some things you might use him for. Personally, I would avoid this gacha like the plague. And I'm not going to be summoning on Kaido. I don't have him. I'm not going to be summoning for him. If you really like Kaido, I mean, he has some good skills. Like, it might be worth it, but not enough for me to want to summon for him, personally. And then last thing we have is the characters that have been teased for part 2. Now, 7 characters have been teased for part 2. 4 of them are from World Trigger, 2 of them from My Hero Academia, and then 1 crossover unit. Now, there is sort of question as to whether this is all we're going to see. I have a strong suspicion this is all we're going to see, but at the same time, compared to part 1 is from the 31st till the 11th. So 7, 8, 9, 10. So like 11 days, basically. Right? Theoretically, about 11 days. And then the rest of the event is the rest of the month. So that's what? 17 days? Something like that? It's over 2 weeks. It's like 2.5 weeks, basically. So in 2.5 weeks to only get 7 characters, that's poor. And I don't like to... I feel like a dickhead when I'm constantly hammering on about, oh, there's not enough characters and whatever. But in a game that's about like celebrating the history of Jump, and you're introducing stuff from lots of new series, lots of new characters sort of comes hand in hand with that, and that's what they've been doing pretty much up until this year. And then this year they've been a lot... It's felt a lot less. They've been putting out a lot less units. Now, if what I was saying about Sprite reworks before has some truth to it, and we can expect Sprite reworks to be coming, and that might be why less characters have been released each event, and they've been splitting things up and stuff. Fair enough, I suppose. Fair enough. If this is just the direction they're taking the game in, can't say I'm a huge fan, but at least when it was like 8 characters in an event that's less than 2 weeks long, I can get on board with that, I guess. But 7 characters for 2.5 weeks is poor. And overall, this event is 1 month long, and it's got what, 13 characters? That's weak. And if you consider, you know, World Trigger out of that has gotten not as many as it would get from its own feature festival, you kind of feel bad because My Hero Academia's had feature festivals. World Trigger hasn't. So that's a bit strange to me. But we've got the teasers anyway of the 7 characters. And we'll go through them and talk about their potential, I guess. We have Orkan Marduk, then Kei Tachikawa, then Soya Kazama. Then down the bottom we have Twice, Hawks, Gatlin, and over to the right we have our crossover unit between Yuma and Bakugo. Now these are obviously, technically speaking, like, we can tell who these characters are, but we could be wrong. Our speculations could be, these could be completely different characters, but I think it's pretty obvious the characters that we have here. Now, if it's only these 7, I will be a little bit disappointed. The real question here is, will Yuma and Bakugo be a limited? Because if they are, that means there are some candidates here that are potentially limited worthy. I would say Hawks and Tachikawa, potentially limited worthy, potentially not being limited. And then there are some candidates here, potentially gacha worthy, not gacha, like Kazama, definitely could be gacha, potentially not gacha. And you could definitely make an argument for Twice. If we'd had like a Dark Heroes event, Twice definitely could have been gacha. But okay, maybe, you know, he is a villain, so maybe not, I don't know. But it's an interesting mix. Personally, if these are the only characters we're getting, I would make Yuma and Bakugo a farmable unit. I would make Gatlin sort of like a Catastrophe class stage. I would make the Yuma and Bakugo also a Catastrophe class stage. And then I would make Hawks and Tachikawa limited. And then the rest just, I don't know. I've kind of put myself in a corner here, because then how are we going to handle the standard gacha? Just one new character? Oh, I don't know. See, this is the problem. 7 characters is just not... 8 characters might have been enough. If you put in, like, one more, I would say, My Hero Academia character, then at least it's balanced. You can have 2 more standard gacha, 2 more limiteds, like... I don't know what they're going to do. Low-key, have no idea. But anyway... That's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the news posts and stuff, please do consider supporting on Ko-fi, and thank you very much to everybody that has supported on Ko-fi so far. I do very much appreciate it, because it does help towards the server fees for the year and such. Thank you. And yeah, link to that will be in the description or at the bottom of the news post. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.